Hi, I'm Shane with Quick Attach. Today what I want to do is demonstrate why our Mega Mower X mower deck is so much better in strength and durability when compared to our competition. Okay, so to compare the relative strengths between the Mega Mower X deck and our competitors, where I want to start is by looking at the structural members that are welded to the top of the deck. And what we have here are some visual aids to kind of show the difference in size and shape. This is an exact replica of what is welded to the top of this deck. You see it's a channel that's about 3 3/8 wide by about 3 inches tall, and it's made up of 3/16 material. And the tubing that is welded to the top of the Mega Mower X is 2 inch by 4 inch, and it's a closed profile, which is a lot stronger, and it's also 3/16 wall thickness. And the way engineers compare relative strengths of structural shapes is by calculating and comparing what's called the moment of inertia. And you can actually go online and find online calculators for a moment of inertia, and by inputting the dimensions, height, width, and thickness, it'll give you the moment of inertia, and you can compare numbers. And what we find is that when you compare the moment of inertia of these two shapes, when you try to bend these particular shapes about the x-axis, so it would be bending this direction, we find that these two shapes are roughly the same strength. But when you bend them in this direction, or a rotation about the y-axis, the closed profile of the Mega Mower X is actually about 25% stronger. So just in that simple comparison alone, you can tell that this structure is stronger than this one. The second point I want to make about the channel that's welded to the top of this deck is how little of it is actually welded to the deck. You see here that there's maybe a 2-inch weld on the end and maybe about a 2-inch weld at the rib area. And the welds are very small. They don't look like they're very heavy. One of the problems you can get into with channel structure when you have an open structure like this is that when you load this and it tries to twist, it's trying to twist this structure, what you'll find is that you can get cracks in the side where the weld ends. So right here is a stress riser where you will probably over time start to see cracks form if you're overstressing this deck. And that is opposed to the closed profile that we use for the tubing on the top of the Mega Mower X. What we have on our deck is 3 large welds that are heavier, and we do not get the same stress riser at the end of each weld, so it's much less likely to get cracks. So the third part I want to talk about is the push bar on these cutter decks. Our example deck that we have here is using 2-inch black pipe Schedule 40, and so the outside dimension is 2 3/8 and the wall thickness is 0.154. That gives a moment of inertia of about 0.66. That's opposed to the heavy wall rectangle tubing that we use on the Mega Mower X, where we have a moment of inertia that's twice as strong in this direction and 7 times as strong in this direction. And this is the bending direction that would occur when you push against large trees. So the tree will be placed here and you'll be pushing in this direction. So clearly this shape being 7 times stronger is much better than this shape. We've moved over to the Mega Mower X deck here so I can show you the stark differences between the top structure of the two decks. Here you see one of the 2 by 4 inch rectangle tubing and see how it's welded here 4 times on this 78-inch deck. And also notice how each end of the tube is welded completely to the outside rib, and it's also welded solid to the inside rib. These ribs are what is giving the deck its strength in the vertical direction, and the tubing is tying them all together, so it makes the complete structure very strong and very stiff. So as a final demonstration of the extreme strength of our Mega Mower X mower deck, we're going to lift this 3,500-pound block of concrete from the very front corner of our 78-inch mower deck. So the 78-inch, the reason we're using that is because it's the widest deck that we make, and it's the weakest of the 3 because it's structurally longer and more slender. And what I want to do is prove to you that before and after this mower deck does not get tweaked. What you'll see during the test is that when it gets strained, the mower deck will twist under load, and then when we unload it, it will go back to level again. So I'll demonstrate that right now. I'll show you that we have this level here. The bubble is centered between the 2 black lines. let's do the test and see what it looks like afterwards. You can see how the deck twists, but it's not being permanently deformed. We've picked up 3,500 pounds. We'll set it back down. We'll come back over, see the bubbles right back where it started. So there's no deformation, there's no permanent deformation in this deck. So you can imagine the great stress that's going through these members as we lift 3,500 pounds. That's more than twice the weight of the whole mower itself. And so this gives you great confidence in the strength of this mower deck when you're out in the woods.